It's about what are you committed to? No kidding. What are you committed to? And I don't mean the intellectual or abstraction about commitment. I mean the visceral, emotional connection to something you're committed to that matters to you. That is the foundational platform for all elite performance in anything.
Hello, and welcome to the PSI Podcast, a podcast for you to explore where a life lived with purpose meets transformation. Each week, we will bring you powerful insights, inspiring stories, and real-world tools for you to break through your limitations, unlock your potential, and live the life you are meant to. I'm your host, Tim Bowen.
And I am your co-host, Mackenzie Kelly. For more than 50 years, PSI Seminars and PSI World have helped thousands of people create the life they deserve to live. And now, it's your turn.
Well, welcome everyone to the PSI Podcast. Today, we are joined by a very special guest. Her name is Kelly Poulos. She is a world-renowned elite performance coach, an international leadership consultant, best-selling author. You know, for years, might we say decades, Kelly has coached, trained, and inspired leaders, executives, entrepreneurs, and high performers around the world to unlock their potential and create extraordinary results. Known for her powerful insights, her practical wisdom, and her ability to help people transform the way they think, the way they lead and perform, Kelly has become one of the most respected voices in personal and professional development. So today we're excited to tap into her experience and learn how we can elevate our own performance and create lives of greater purpose, impact, and fulfillment. And so, of course, my name's Tim Bowen. I'm joined, as always, with Mackenzie O'Kelly. And Mackenzie, you have had some direct experience working with Kelly in the past. So why don't you share with everyone why this is such a great opportunity?
Well, I am just so honored to have you, Kelly, here with us. And so for those that don't know, we do a 6-month coaching program, performance coaching program through PSI Seminars. And the work that has led us is Kelly's work. And so I have had the privilege and honor to really get to deep dive, and we've had now 5 intentions, and to use Kelly's work and just to see what has been possible by what you have taught them, Kelly. And so one of my favorite things is that your work helps people feel like their dream, their vision, their game worth playing is possible because you do it in a tangible way. Sometimes personal development for me can just be almost out of this world, untouchable. What does that mean? Conceptual. And you break it down to do this step by step, break it down. Here's how you do it. And it makes it so possible. And so I'm just super honored, and I love your stuff. So I'm super excited to talk to you today.
Well, you know what I always say. First of all, that introduction is so embarrassing. Oh my gosh. It's a good thing I'm 80, so, it kind of accumulates, the intros, they accumulate,
Right.
So I hope that me is as good as the intro here. I'm going to begin by saying thank you, Mackenzie, but I want to start by saying that really, I say the same thing the same way every time. And Tim has been around me probably a little bit more than Mackenzie, but both of you know that about me. It is my trademark. It's what I'm known for. But my point here is that if I say the same thing the same way every time, then why is it that some people hear me say the same thing the same way every time, and they execute and produce results, and some don't? Because it's not my stuff. Very kind of you, Mackenzie, because you're such a respectful young lady. It's very kind of you to give the credit to my work. And listen, I'm not being insincerely humble here. It's solid stuff based on 50 years of experience. I am a practitioner. I'm not a theorist, although I have some theory. But what I'm known for is, in simplest terms, making things happen. But the source of power always has to do with the person who's doing it. Always. And I appreciate that and I respect it. So I'm delighted to be here. And what I would like to say, Mackenzie and Tim, is because we don't have an audience, it's the three of us having a conversation. And you've heard my stuff a million times before, but if you would come into the present moment and just notice what's landing with you today, not what have you heard before, but what's coming back into your experience. And what I'd like to say to your audience is, I'm not going to say a single thing that anybody who is interested in making things happen doesn't already know. They already know it. Intellectually, conceptually, and even have moments where they executed on it. But that can become, what's the word? Dull. And so conversations like these are an opportunity to bring those things that I know work back into my experience. So, let's use that this way so that we can, have a back and forth. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm always curious about how do people use this?
Right.
What do they do with it? I'm curious about that. So I throw it back to you now. When I was talking, what was coming back into your experience? What were you like? Oh yeah, I remember that now.
Well, it's such an intriguing question. You posed a question as, why is it that some people have heard you over and over again and they continue to produce incredible results, and other people have heard you over and over again, and like you just mentioned, they probably have an intellectual understanding. Like they get what you're saying. They understand
Absolutely.
the concept. And it's like, what's the missing link to execution?
Oh, I have an answer for that. Do you have an answer? Do you have an instinctive answer, either one of you?
Well, I think there's a certain amount of safety in just staying in the intellectual understanding and kind of being, sometimes we call it being a seminar junkie, right? Like I just always want to take in the information, and as long as I'm just taking in the information and I'm always being a student of it, I don't necessarily have to do anything with it.
Yeah, I got it. I think there's some truth in that. How about you, Mackenzie? What's your instinctive answer there, or your observation of people?
I think, like, even if we intellectually know it, for me, it's like hearing your stuff. It's formatted differently than anything that we do with PSI seminars. And so I feel like maybe, yes, they've heard it in another way in some of our classes, but for me, like the way that it's broken down, the way you present it, it somehow feels brand new. Like, oh, I never thought, short-term targets, which I think we'll get into one of the conversations. It's like, we've all heard little bite-sized pieces, right? Eat an elephant one bite at a time. But for some reason, you hear short-term targets and it's like, oh my God, this is like life-changing.
Isn't that funny?
I think they just hear it differently.
It's funny. Well, okay. I think all that's true. If this was a beat the coach, stump the coach process here, neither one of you got the answer I would have been listening for. And both of them are solid and accurate. But just to go on record here, the distinguishing characteristic of people who are elite performers and execute at an elite level is so simple. And the minute I say it, you're going to go, oh, well, I knew that. Okay. Because you do know this. You do know this from years of experience and watching people and just, your own endeavors that you've been in. But it's about, what are you committed to? Like, no kidding. What are you committed to? And right after that, and I don't mean the intellectual or abstraction about commitment. I mean the visceral, emotional connection to something you're committed to that matters to you. That is the foundational platform for all elite performance in anything. Now, can people produce results and not be that committed? Yes, they can. But my work is not about doing what you were going to do anyway or being good. My work is about elite performance. That is what I aspire to. That is what the people I work with aspire to. Do we get there? Sometimes, not always, but we never change what we aspire to, what is aspirational for us, which is, all the pithy sayings, be the best version of myself, be all that you can be. Those things are not just abstractions. Those are things that can touch a nerve in some way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And part of it too, and then I'll turn it back to you. You have to stop me, Tim, because I get carried away with myself.
You're doing great.
But what's also true is that, and it needs to be sincere. So I want to push on this a little bit, which is not what should you be committed to, not what do other people tell you would be good at and you should be committed to it. But finding that sweet spot, which is really true for you, is the distinction between, doing okay and elite performance. Does that make any sense to you at all?
Yeah. So I'm hearing tapping into our passion, right? Which can evolve over time, over years even.
It changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it changes.
I know for me, I've said yes to things out of
duty and obligation,
relationship, whatever the reason.
Sure.
And so because I said yes, I'm committed. However, I am not sincerely committed.
Right, exactly. Right.
My why is because I said yes, and it feels hard. It doesn't flow. It feels like a challenge.
That's okay. I think that's really useful what you just said, Mackenzie. Which is, everything isn't what I'm compelled by.
Yeah.
I'm not doing what I'm compelled by in elite performance 24/7. That's just not the way life is. So there's nothing wrong with, in my world, in saying yes out of duty and obligation. I don't think duty and obligation is negative. And I object to people who characterize that as negative. I'm a big believer in respect. I'm a big believer in honoring. If somebody that I totally honor asks me to do something and I say yes, is it out of duty? Yes. But I don't consider that negative. But distinguished from, that's all, distinguished from duty and obligation, you'll be able to get some things done. Absolutely no question about it. New conversation. Elite performance drives from that which is compelling to me. Really compelling to me.
When I think in that moment, when it feels like the struggle, because I'm like, well, I just said yes because blah, 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 blah. In that same commitment, I've been able to practice changing to get to the compelling why of no, I'm not doing it because of this. I'm doing it because of this result, because the trickle effect, blah, blah, blah. And then I find the passion in the same commitment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're doing the work. You're doing the work. I mean, we don't always wake up every morning and we're totally in touch with what we're compelled by and passion. I'm going over there to the coffee machine and hoping that I've got some Pikes Peak espresso brewing because I need to wake up. But this leads me to my next point, which is, and as you've heard me say a bazillion times, commitment is a renewable process, and it is commitment is a renewable resource. And the next step, which is the engine of elite performance, it's a practice. It's a choice. And as I define myself as a practitioner, the practices, what becomes automatic is the difference between good and great. So I was about to change the subject a bit, Tim and Mackenzie, but it's up to you. Is there something you want to address here before I go to what I was going to go to, which is rips and reps? What is the impact of that?
I think that's great because we started this conversation about repetition and being repetitive. So I think that's perfect. Let's let the people
let me begin then with just a simple statement, which is repetition is the engine of elite performance. End of the story. Now, with that said, it's kind of tricky. The goal in repeat practice is that it becomes automatic. It becomes spontaneous. dancers refer to it as muscle memory. That's the goal. But the tricky part is that what's productive can become automatic. Absolutely no question. I'm going to give you some examples in a minute. But the opposite is also true. And this is where it takes real mental alertness, discipline, or a coach, to be honest with you. Because the unproductive, negative mindsets and practices can also become automatic. And you're in it, you can't see it. This is the value of going to courses like PSI. This is the value of having a coach, because once you see it, most people will act on it. But when it's become automatic, you don't necessarily see it. So specific examples, and I want to do two things here, and then, I want to hear your response, which is, and there's two categories of practice in my work. One is mindset, which we've heard, a million times. It's the current trendy thing to talk about. It used to be, attitude, but now it's, or whatever. Now it's mindset. And listen, I'm not making fun of that. Mindset is as good a description as any about what are my beliefs, what's driving my action. And there are productive and unproductive mindsets, most of which are familiar to most people. So, for example, a victim chronic mindset will produce predictable results, right? And we can discuss some of the mindset. So there's two sets of categories of practices. One is mindset, the other is execution. And there are productive and unproductive practices in execution. An example of an unproductive practice in execution is procrastination. And so these are not new things to people. It's just organizing it in a way, to be honest with you, that I think you were referring to earlier, Mackenzie. It's just organizing it in a way, in a simple, rather direct way, so that people can get access to it and have a chance, really, at executing on it. There's no guarantees. I don't care if you do Kelly Poulos' work perfect. There's still no guarantee that we're going to win. But it gives us our very best chance, A, and B, the process is a lot more interesting, in my opinion, a lot more fun in the be do have of it. But what is occurring to you as I'm talking here, as practitioners? What is occurring to you?
Well, one thing as you were speaking, I just had a memory going all the way back to high school. And I had a teacher, I believe in my junior year, who would always say practice makes permanent, right? Anytime anyone would ever use the phrase practice makes perfect, she would say, no, practice makes permanent.
Wow,
right?
Interesting. I might steal that then.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
go for it. It just popped back into my brain. I was like, no, that's exactly what we're talking about, right? So when we do these things over and over again, we are cementing them in. I'm creating these habits, whether it's my habitual thinking, my habitual practices, whatever, it's generating the same result over and over again if I'm repeating the same thoughts, beliefs, and actions. And that was the point she was making, right?
Yeah, very good point. And it generates certainty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always get the result, but I am rock hard certain and spontaneous in my execution, because I have done the work, which is to focus on my mindset and my execution until it became spontaneous. Like, I'll guarantee that the two of you're not going to be victims for too long.
No.
I mean, maybe a few minutes,
I like to sit in it.
On a really bad day, maybe an hour.
Yeah.
But
fully experience it, be in it.
Yeah, but it's not like you don't know what's happening.
Right.
And you're not a victim of the victimness.
We've been around this work for long enough that, I think for me personally, not only do I hear my own voice, like getting me away from the victim mentality, the victim mindset, I hear my mentors over all the years being like, now, Tim, you know better.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what's great about having relationships with and friendships and coworkers and everything that's involved in, working all to be better, where it's like when you talk to each other, it's like, okay, got it.
Right.
We're gonna let that simmer for a minute, and okay, we ready to move? It's like,
Yeah, I think that's really
sometimes
crucial.
no.
I really agree with you. I think that's really crucial. Who I, the nature of my relationships, personally and professionally, have a lot to do with me being able to execute on this. And you know, we don't always get to vote about that. You know, some of us has people in our family that we really love, but or in our friendships that we really love, but they are not helpful.
Right.
You know, they are deeply embedded. The victim mentality is deeply embedded in them, or whatever the mindset is, and they don't mean to hurt us unless they're just mean. But most of the time, it's not intentional. They really can't even see it. So that's why that's a practice. So the practice is who do I surround myself with when I want to get something done? Do I surround myself with people that will not challenge because I'm uncomfortable with that? Do I surround myself with people who only want to challenge? I mean, it's got to be a mix there, you know. So
there's an exhaustion level at some point if we're only ever surrounded by people who are pushing.
Yeah, that's, you know, then it's like, you know, give me a break, get me out of here. Oh, right. Sorry, Mr. Call, bye. I mean,
can't we just have a glass of wine and hang out every once in a while?
Can we just talk for a minute, like as real people?
Exactly. You know, it's by design though. You know, so I know, and we all know, we just don't act on it all the time, when we need to be challenged and when we need to be supported.
Yeah.
And I know who to call in those two different moments.
Yep.
And if I need to be challenged, I'm calling that person. I'm saying, have at it, because there's no forward action. I'm not getting done what I want to get done. I need somebody to kick my ass, and they will. But if I've been working really, really hard and still not getting anywhere, and I'm just discouraged, then I have somebody I call who will remind me that I can and will do this. It's a balance, isn't it? And just to keep this on point, that is a practice. It's the practice of surrounding myself with people who will support me in moving forward. Very few things are accomplished alone.
Right. Well, I don't think we weren't put on this planet to go at it alone, right? There's a reason there's over 7 billion people walking this life along with us.
Wow, you're kind of deep, man.
I'm too deep for this conversation.
No, it's great. It's fascinating. Mackenzie, you were about to say something. What was it?
I have a question. So in my own experience, and again, working with people in the InTENtion program, it seems as if that it's much easier for people to, like when we do lists of our reps and rips. So in case we didn't actually say that on the podcast, so reps are repetitive, effective practices.
Good.
Rips are repetitive, ineffective practices.
Listen to that girl. It's like she wrote it.
And so when we make our lists and so we can reflect, it feels like the majority of the time there's a ton of rips, repetitive, ineffective practices, and fewer effective ones. So it seems that it's easier to create rips than the effective ones. So why?
Well, it's just because they're beginners. Yeah. So, you know, get that into context. You know, they've had many years of driving from rips, repetitive, ineffective practices, and this is a new skill, and I actually consider it a skill. This is a discipline. This is a practice, and so they haven't accumulated that other list. And so it's really not a big deal. It's like, you know, this is a place to begin. Now, what's also true about rookies is their tendency is to want to get rid of the rips. Okay, that's a fallacy. That does not happen. If it do not tell people that does not happen. They don't go away. It's not like a hard disk on your computer and you delete it and it's gone. It's not like that. What it's like is they can get dull, not so dominant, and your automatic response can be interrupted. And new reps, repetitive effective practices, practiced over time, can become more dominant and louder. So if there's two hands here, and this hand is repetitive ineffective practices, and there's tons of them, like you said, Mackenzie. Mm-hmm. I'm 80. Good Lord, I have no idea. I mean, there's a lot in there. And then in this hand, there's repetitive effective practices. When we begin this endeavor, this hand is more dominant. It's still loud. It's still there. It's the voice calling us, come back, come back, come back. But as we diligently execute on mindset and execution practices over time, that begins to shift. And there'll be a day when this hand is automatic and this one is still there, but it's dormant. Now, the danger there is it's like a virus. It doesn't go away. It can come back anytime.
Activates real quick.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's so important here to be precise in the way you articulate what your commitment is to repetitive effective practices, mindset, or execution.
Can you give folks a couple of examples of what you hear from people? So if someone's making a list of their reps, their repetitive effective practices, what would be some examples of those?
Okay, great. That's a great question. So I'll give you an example. Recently, you saw that the Knicks won the NBA championship, and I think am I saying it correctly? His name is Julian, I think, Jul.
Sure, I'll pretend I watch basketball.
Oh, Jalen Brunson?
Yeah, say it again.
Jalen Brunson, I believe.
Jalen. So Jalen is 6'2", not that tall for an NBA player. Told all of his life he was too short, shouldn't be on these teams, blah, blah, blah. Make a long story short, he ends up on the Knicks. They're a great team. They're down in a game. I don't know if it was the final game, but it might not be. It doesn't matter. 29 points. They're down 29 points. And they come back and win by a point. And
in
he's
like the last second.
Yes, exactly. In the last second. He's being interviewed after the game. And Charles Barkley, who is a well-known retired NBA player, says to him, when you were down 29, did you have a moment where you said to yourself, I don't think this is going to happen? And he said, and this is a practice of elite performers, listen carefully. He said, it's okay to take a moment and entertain the worst possible scenario.
Okay.
That's okay. That's okay. Take a moment. He said, but then you get your ass back out there on the court and you do something about it, because what else are you going to do? That is a practice of elite performers. And the specific practice is, what are the choices, the automatic, the spontaneous choices you and I make when confronted with overwhelming odds? Mm-hmm. That's an example.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did that feel? How did that feel?
That was a great. I was literally going to say like some rep, when people wake up and dance in the morning, but that one was a great example.
Yeah. Well, it feels great. I mean, it's
that's funny to me. You wake up and you dance in the morning, and then you feel like
they put on music. It's a vibe. They dance or they do. In our world.
Wrong with that, Mackenzie. Let me categorize that for you. That's somatic. So that's you using your body. If you want to change your mood, there's nothing faster than something physical. Nothing faster. Dancing, outdoor stuff, which you all have done before in your courses. It's very quick and it works very well. And mood matters. And that's another repetitive, effective practice that I, as an elite performer, take charge of my mood and do something that changes the mood. Why? Because mood impacts execution. And it also impacts the people who are around me. Because remember, most things that we accomplish are not accomplished alone. I'm being kind of dominant, though. You guys should tell me to back off here.
No, I think it's great. Because there is this dance that we entertain where we're aligning our thoughts and our beliefs and our feelings, focused in the direction that we want to move in.
Yeah, exactly. But that is easy to say.
Yes.
And a really small percentage of people actually do the work. And so the question then is, because I don't think we're saying, this may be entertaining to people, but I don't think we're saying anything here that's rocket science. I don't think we're saying anything here that couldn't be found listening to who knows who's doing something great somewhere in some field. They may not use the same lexicon we're using here this morning, but they're saying the same things. There's things that work and things that don't work. And so the question I think that is valuable, you ask, we talked about in the beginning, which is, then why are there so few people that do that? And I'm going to assert because they did not identify that which they really wanted to make happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you really find that and execute on that, discipline is not a problem. But if you're in have to, it's a problem. You've got to consciously make yourself do it.
Right.
You guys have had this experience. You're doing something you love, and so your experience of it is different.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it just keeps coming back to mindset and our thought process, right? And so it's like, yes, do I do a lot of things every single day that I have to do?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
And if I'm letting that get me down, I know I've got the practice of pausing, reflecting, and saying, yes, is this something I have to do? Sure, but let's bring that back a couple of steps. Why do I have to do it?
There you go. I think that's great.
Yeah, I have to do it because I want to keep my job. And that's my why in the moment. I love what I get to do.
I think you and Mackenzie both said that. I think that's great. So it may not start out as the thing that you want to do, but you can find it. So sometimes you got to find it. You got to dig for it. It certainly helps. The other thing I would say that I think you're pointing out that I think people should remember is, let's not be naive here. It's not elite performance 24/7. All of us have things that we may not be compelled by that are our responsibilities that we need to handle. But there is a way to handle our responsibilities and have it be the most productive that it could be. And that's what the two of you have both described here, which is there isn't an instinctive compelling desire there, but I can find one. And when I find one that's real, it will help me. Does that sound right? Is that what you're saying? That's what I hear you say.
Exactly. Yeah. And just to wrap up the reps and rips, I think it's, again, something that is easy for people to wrap their head around and to take control of in a way. For example, the expectation that we're going to wake up and let's go and be high performance and elite performance. And that is just not reality. Maybe it is for some, not for me. And so to realize, okay, yeah, right. I used to think Tony Robbins, I used to be oh, I bet he wakes up and he's just oh, blah. And he said he didn't. And I'm well, that makes me feel better. But the reps and rips, it helps me to be okay, hang on. What am I in right now? I am in a rip right now. a repetitive, ineffective practice, and I can like name it. And for me, that helps be like, okay, this is not working. So let me find one of my reps.
That's all great. You're coding it. You're codifying it. You're naming it.
Yeah.
And naming it, language is powerful there. And the minute that you define it, it gives you a better chance at acting on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it also removes some of the power that it would have over us otherwise, right?
Oh, I think so
like
too.
I
That's a great
name it,
point.
I identify it, I recognize you are not more powerful than I am. You are my practice, right? So I can change it.
Yeah, I love that.
Great.
I think that both of you, excellent. You know, students always make anybody's work better. Good students always figure out ways to use it and to have it be more practical. So just to end this rips and reps, and there's, you know, we could spend days on this, but just I would say to your audience, really keep it as simple as you can until you get the rhythm of it, which is mindset is what automatic attitudes, beliefs, underlying assumptions do you have that are chronic that don't work? And on the rep side, what do you know in your heart and soul are the attitudes, the underlying assumptions, the values, the beliefs that you frigging know works? And you know it. And I want to point out that I said frigging. I did not say the F word. And I want to be acknowledged for that because
Thank you, Kelly.
I love to swear.
You're making sure we don't have to put that explicit tag on this episode.
I love to swear. It's so charming to hear an 80-year-old swearing. People go, "Oh, isn't she cute?"
You know, I saw a video a couple of days ago, and I shared with someone we all know, KQP, and we both had a laugh at it. But there was a short TikTok video that there was a woman doing a TED Talk, and it was just a little snippet. And she was showing that the research shows that people who swear casually, just as part of their regular language, live longer.
Well, there you go. I'm validated. I'm completely validated.
They're not held back. They're just, you know, expressing freely.
No, but I think if you look at television, it's just like there are F-bombs every place, not just on streaming now, it's everywhere. But anyway, that's a whole different subject. I don't want to get into it. If you don't want to swear, please don't. I like to. So there we go. It's choice.
There you are.
So there's two other things that I wanted to cover if we have time, Tim and Mackenzie. One is I want to review the Matrix.
Yeah.
The game worth playing Matrix, because that really is that's a rep.
Absolutely.
That's a way to categorize, and that like gives people access to things. And the other thing that is a execution rep is Mackenzie's favorite, which is the 3 stages of a game. You know, startup, momentum, concentration, momentum, and breakdown. If we have time, and
we're a little over time for this particular episode. However, what I would love to do is I think we're just going to pause the recording right here. We're going to say thank you everyone for listening in, for watching, and we are going to continue this conversation right now with Kelly, and listen in next week so that you can hear everything that Kelly's talking about. So we're going to be getting into the game worth playing and all of the stages that go along with it. So thank you everyone for being here. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for joining us today for the PSI Podcast.
If today's conversation sparks something for you, don't let it stop here. Share this episode with someone who's ready for their next breakthrough, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an opportunity to grow. I'm Tim Bowen.
And I'm Mackenzie O'Kelly. Until next time.